I'm Lee Camp, and this is your moment of clarity. As millions around the world try to survive with a lack of resources, we need to remember that it's almost never because the resources aren't there. They are. There's probably more empty houses in this country than homeless people. I mean, Jesus Christ, there's probably enough boarded up Borders bookstores or Barnes and Nobles to give every homeless veteran their own personal franchise location. There's enough water to create bright green golf courses in the middle of deserts, and restaurants throw away enough unsold desserts in the garbage to turn every hungry person into a morbidly obese, gently undulating mountain of flesh. So why is anybody starving, cold, or thirsty, or homeless? Seems like fixing this problem should be easier than getting laid at an orgy. The resources are there. It's the money that isn't there. Philosopher Alan Watts described it well when he wrote that saying there is not enough money is basically like a builder saying there's not enough inches. There's enough wood, nails, hammers, but we've used up all the inches. It's our archaic confusion between money and true wealth that stops us from providing food, clothing, and housing for everyone on the planet. Money is but a symbol, and we've allowed this symbol to infect our brains. I think we should start fucking with this symbol. If you're a dentist, give out checkups in exchange for groceries. And for the most part, the problem is not finding things to give, it's finding people to take the exchange. So I want to encourage store owners and shopkeepers to do it. If some strange person walks into your shop and offers you a scented candle for a candy bar, take it. What do you have to lose? Chances are you'll use the candle, and if nothing else, you get a funny story. Plus, no one else gets a cut of this. No taxes or millionaires grabbing at it. And even if they try, what's 10% of a hot stone massage? I'm not saying this is gonna change the world. It won't. But what it will do is change our perception of money. All of a sudden, the stupid green pieces of paper would go back to being a symbol rather than being a way of life.
So today's hate mail comes from screen name Redbox Grove. Is it me or is this Lee Camp guy sounding a bit backwards and red? Let's get this straight, Lee. If you're so concerned about getting rid of money and voluntary free trade, what will replace it? You are just another leftard with all the quote-unquote answers. I bet you keep Joe Stalin's dick in a box on your mantle.
I do, but it has nothing to do with worship of him. The truth is, and I thought this was pretty clear in the rant, that I'm not saying we can switch away from money tomorrow. I'm saying that we've come to think that it's a thing, and it's not a thing. It's a representation of a thing. Where do you stand on that?
Well, my grandmother survived on the barter system. Back then, people were more connected and more willing to help their neighbors without turning around and saying, what's in it for me?
Speaking of connected, what's your Twitter handle? Okay, that's hate mail. Twitter is a website where people type random stuff. As you may or may not have heard, HSBC, Britain's biggest bank, and a rather fat ass here in the US as well, was caught for a decade of helping drug cartels and terrorists launder money. A fucking decade. Do you realize how long a decade is? A decade ago, Nickelback was big, and NSYNC still had a bubbling career. Anyway, HSBC finally got caught, and we recently found out what their punishment would be. They will have to pay a $1.9 billion fine. A fine. You or I could go to jail for something as small as smoking a joint or diddling a mountain goat. We've all been there. But these guys get off with a fine, and it's not like the top dicks at HSBC pay the fine. They leave rich. Sir John Bond, chairman of the bank from 98 to 2006, a very rich man who runs other companies. I can only assume they were looking for someone who's good at laundering money. Stephen Green, chief executive from 03 to 06, joined the House of Lords and then became the fucking trade minister in Britain. Also Michael Gagan, Sandy Flockhart, David Bagley. All of these men are rich and free. All of these men were leading an organization that was laundering drug money. None of these men will pay a fine or go to jail for it. Clearly, the problem is men. Fucking men. Come on, ladies, we're destroying the world. Get up and stop us, for fuck's sakes. I'm just gonna start off with a softball here. Why are you so down on money?
Why am I down on money? Well, money is more of a mechanism. I'm not really down on money, more to the effect of what money does in the larger context of the market system. You know, money in whatever form is a commodity, right? It's used as a medium of exchange, and it's usually defended that way, but it's really a commodity. And the problem is that since it's a commodity, it changes the incentive system of the culture entirely, where the pursuit of income and profit overrides everything. You know, problem resolution or new advents for human prosperity, they only come about if financial gain can be made from those interests. Otherwise, it doesn't fit in the equation. So, you know, I think about it in two ways. There's two types of efficiency occurring in the world today. There's market efficiency, which uses the monetary system, and then there's technical efficiency.
Would it help things if we measured the success or the how evolved of a society we were against something other than GDP? It seems like we just always measure our success by GDP.
Well, we always measure our success by financial and monetary dynamics. It's all based on material gain. So it's not just GDP or PPI or any of that stuff. Everything in our society is based on this utilitarian value system that it's all about the movement of money, the satisfaction of problems with money, and the acquisition of wealth as a form of success. So there are other indices that have been put forward by more thoughtful people. There's like a happiness index, as bizarre as that sounds, that actually tracks through survey polls of people and how happy they are.
In Bhutan,
and of course,
right?
What's that?
In Bhutan. Isn't that where they did it?
Oh, yeah, you're right, actually, in Bhutan. Yeah, exactly. And that's been proven helpful to illuminate some issues. It's not really mathematically accurate, but it does show. I mean, I think better measures of public health are how much mental illness is diagnosed in a year, you know, stuff like that, how much alcoholism and drug abuse you see, because all of that is related to this sort of dehumanization of society that is inherent to the market economy today. That's why I think the postal phenomenon since the 1980s of people flipping out and just killing anyone around them, you know, this stuff didn't happen in the past. There's something deeply wrong in our value system and psychology, and it's radiating from this distortion in the market economy.
You know, this is something my grandpappy always told me. He said, it doesn't matter whether you have a lot of money or no money at all. You're never truly poor as long as you have guns and ski masks. Does that sound about right?
That sounds, unfortunately, that does sound about right. And you know, we saw Occupy burst forward. I think it's the tip of the iceberg because there's no pressure relief. I mean, the little minor improvement we had in our, quote, recession in the U.S. and the West is turning rapidly back down. You know, I don't want to ramble off on a lot of issues, but the storm has yet to pass because the true root of this storm has yet to be understood by the vast majority of culture. And that's why I continue to try and promote these ideas and get people out there to think a little more deeply about, you know, what resolution means.
I'm Lee Camp, and this is your moment of clarity. So subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Twitter at Lee Camp, follow us on Facebook. Keep fighting.